Hello and welcome to the first DORA talk by Fundvis. I'm very happy to be today accompanied by Lucas Schmidt from IT for Funds. Hi, Lucas. Nice to have you. Please say a few words and please tell us how you crossed DORA for the first time.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation in the first place. I'm very happy to be here as well and to join the talk to DORA. Maybe a few words from my side. I'm Managing Director of IT for Funds. We're managing IT infrastructure for financial professionals, for finance firms here in Luxembourg, which are German-speaking, obviously, and in the regulatory landscape. And DORA is a subject that is in discussion for us all. And I think we have to address the challenges today and how we can overcome them. Mm-hmm. Especially when it comes to incident management, risk management, and reporting. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is because why I'm very happy to be here today.
All right, so thanks for the introduction. Really happy to have you here at the Loft. And now I think an important topic is to raise awareness at one point, but also to really make people understand what DORA means, right? And sometimes if you're going to a lot of these panels, it's very difficult sometimes to really grasp what DORA is. And so I would be interested if you can just explain us DORA as if we would be 5-year-olds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. So in simple terms, DORA is you have to revisit all your IT infrastructure and processes and match them to your business processes. And let's say business process A doesn't function anymore. How does it affect your IT infrastructure side? And which changes do you have to apply so that this can't happen in the future? Mm-hmm. So in terms of risk management, you will have a look at all your business processes on the one side, and on the other side, all the connected IT assets, mm-hmm. and then screen which are the critical processes and which are the IT assets that are connected or interconnected, mm-hmm. and are the reason for the process not working anymore.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, makes sense. So now I prepared 5 questions. In general, I wanted to go a bit more in depth because also all of the posts that you have and the newsletter that you're bringing out, a lot of it is directed in the direction of register and ICT Incident Management, right? Yeah. So I think this is surely 2 of the topics that also we look at the most crucial ones for 17th of January 2025. So I think also 2 of the first ones that will be enforced by the CSSF and where something should be in place. Yes. And that's why it's going to be 5 questions around this, like what is really best steps and best practices and how to address this.
Sure.
So first question, in your experience, how well prepared are most organizations when it comes to meeting the requirements of DORA?
Mm-hmm. I think most organizations are, in terms of the gap analysis at the moment, they are addressing which gap they have in terms of their internal IT governance. Mm-hmm. And if they are regulated at the moment, maybe they are going to have like 60 to 70% already checked when it comes to DORA. Mm-hmm. But I think not many organizations are in terms of the actual step-by-step DORA solution. So I think we are in a state where many people are a bit overwhelmed by the requirements of DORA and are asserting how to address them and how to come forward step by step. Mm-hmm. So it's, I would say it's early stage, knowing that January 2025 is kicking in.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think as exactly what you said is this overwhelming feeling that some have. We looked at the register as well and it just popped into our faces. Obviously, we're not that experts in the industry, but I think this can be quite overwhelming. Why it's so important to have good strategies and step-by-steps.
Right.
Okay, so second question is already around incident management. I think one of the important topics. What do you see as the biggest challenges organizations face in implementing effective ICT incident management under DORA?
Mm-hmm. I think the first thing is the gathering of information, mm-hmm. because many organizations don't have a ticket system by themselves. They have maybe the ticket system of their IT company, their ICT asset manager, or their third-party provider. When they have to do the notification to their relevant authority, mm-hmm. then it's quite difficult to have all the information in place when you need them, as there are timely manners.
No, exactly. Especially the deadlines that you have, right? So I think initial notification is 4 hours only. Then the B reporting that you have to deliver is 5 working days. So I think that's also a big pressure point, right?
Yeah, sure. To have it in place. Yeah.
How, that's maybe an additional question, but how similar, because this we hear do often, like you said, ticketing systems at big organizations. Some have them, for example, JIRA is quite well known for a lot of them, but those who don't and those who potentially do not even have them at their, let's say, IT provider side, I imagine this is even more overwhelming, right? So where to start there?
Sure.
Go with a software provider that provides everything in place, or how to set up a best practice internally? Is there like material to find about it? Is there something from the CSSFs? Is there something that you would advise those small players that are, let's say, quite unequipped on that side?
Yeah, I think a key thing is to have a provider that supports with all the information gathering. Because if you start with Excel and try to get the information relevant for incident classification, I don't think that you can get far, because the information has to be in place when it occurs, and when there is no incident at all, so no notification popping up in your internal organization somewhere, it's very hard to create an incident afterwards and to gather the information together in Excel and go all the way through your emails and put this together. So it has to be implemented in your organizational framework, in your process framework. And so you have to have a provider that, procures a service.
Yes. Yeah. Agree. Okay. Question 3. With the deadline approaching, we said it, 17th of January 25. What immediate steps should organizations take to ensure the ICT register are compliant with DORA standards?
I think the most important step organizations should immediately do is to have a list of their internal processes, all their business processes. If you have an organizational framework, or if you have a governance framework where your processes are listed at the moment, that's fine, because you can start there. And then from the process framework, you have to look at the IT assets which are connected with the business processes. And if you have done that, you can make the criticality assessment and say, okay, this is a critical business process. It's connected to IT asset ABC. And if IT asset ABC struggles or loses connection, then we have a problem, we have an incident, we have to gather information, and we have to make the notification to the relevant authority. This is what I recommend, starting by putting up your business processes.
Okay. Do you have maybe an example, like a real-time example of saying, for example, if people use Microsoft and then the internal process for something, just to make it more graspable, that people can maybe relate to that?
Yeah, sure. So maybe to get a process, we always have to look at is the order management. If an order comes on from an asset manager, and you have to process the order in your internal process framework, then order comes in using email. So it's your email service first. And then what do you do with the order? Do you have an order management system? Okay, then order management system is IT asset B. IT asset C is Word, because you have to address maybe a comment from the manager to your order and put it up and put it in your order management system as well. So there are 3 IT assets connected with the business process order management. And then you have to look at the business process and decide, is it critical? If yes, the 3 IT assets are critical as well. This is one good example, I guess. Okay,
yeah, it's great. I mean, that makes it really relatable. And specifically now talking about the framework of register, which is giving out in this famous Excel, right, with all the subtabs and which is
you know it all.
Yeah, we're haunted by it. But I mean, having this in front of your eyes, probably if you never touch ground in any of these compliance environments or with these topics, I think can be extremely overwhelming. Again, as we said before. We sometimes have the feeling people tend to wait. In the direction of let's see what happens in January.
Yes.
Obviously, we would advocate. I think you would agree that now it's time to act, not when it's too late, which is January.
Totally.
And so maybe a step more into register. Again, what you portrayed before. that's just something to make it easier to get into the register. So as you said, look at the different processes, perhaps especially functions, right, that you have to define, and also the criticality of the functions, an important step. And then maybe how to get an easy overview also, who am I actually using? Who are my IT providers? Do you have an idea or best practice of how to do this internally? Like, for example, I am, let's say, responsible for it, but I have no idea which are all my IT providers within the group. So how would you address this?
So in terms of where to start, I would recommend, if you have the process map, as discussed before, and your IT assets, that you have a look at which IT assets are connected to a third-party ICT provider. In terms of, is it a data provider, is it a service provider, and so on. And if you have defined that, you can make the relevant entries in the big Excel and see, okay, where do I have to start? Where is my provider, and so on. And if you have problems with that, go and talk to the different business units in your company and just ask them, are you in contact with a third-party provider, and so on. Just address and get all the information, then make the first start for the Excel.
Okay, so next question. How do you think software solutions can support organizations in achieving seamless compliance with DORA, particularly in managing ICT incidents and maintaining up-to-date registers?
I think the most important thing is how seamless solutions can help is to hold up to the deadlines for the incident reporting obligation you have. So if you have 4-hour deadlines from time to time, then it is quite impossible to manage the big Excel. So if you have seen the Excel, you will be there and say, okay, what are my information? What is the relevant information? Go into eDesk, click on the relevant buttons, have the right role for eDesk in place. That's a thing for itself. So I think number one is to have fast information access and have it all in one place. Second thing is, if you have to have the asset register always up to date, it can be a requirement that if you are asked, you have to deliver. So if you have no solution in which you manage all your IT assets at once, then you will have big problems in having an up-to-date version of your ICT asset register at all times, but minimum once a year, as you have to report it to a relevant authority once a year.
All right, so last question already. Looking ahead, what are the key areas organizations should focus on to not just comply with DORA, but also strengthen their overall digital operational resilience?
Yeah, I think this is a very important question, as DORA is not the requirement itself, because the terms cybersecurity, business continuity, backup, and the testing of all those three are very relevant points to financial institutions. So I think number one is cybersecurity, as always. Have in place certain measures, have an incident monitoring system, be resilient against cyber threats, and then test the cases where maybe a ransomware attack is attacking your organization, and have measures in place to just answer to them. And the second thing is business continuity. Refer to your business continuity plans again. Check them. Are they up to date? Do you have an offsite location where you have stored maybe the most important data, maybe additional workstations for the core teams that support critical processes, where you can actually switch? So not just have it in terms of regulatory compliance, be actually able to switch when you have to another location, into the cloud, substitute a business process or a business app with another one. So just have those measures in place and test them regularly, so you know, okay, I'm fine when it comes to an incident.
I think very, very important topics, especially the big topics of our time, right? So cybersecurity for sure, business continuity. And I think this is something that people might or tend to leave out of this whole thinking, that actually DORA, if you do it correctly, yes, it's a big piece of work. But if you have these reactions in place that you mentioned, you actually do become a more resilient company, right? And you're really strengthening, I think, also the pitch you have for a potential, as an asset manager, if you say fully DORA compliant and tested out all of these different environments, you're a resilient company, you really are more attractive. So I think very important topics, and not to forget, DORA is not just another reporting, but it's actually, figured out to move something within a company. So
yeah, right. It's a reminder for us all to think about business continuity and cybersecurity again.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, and so as last, let's say, outlook, also, how can you support? So IT for Funds, for example, if somebody feels overwhelmed and still has the need for support, how would you be able to help them, especially with DORA?
Yeah, for IT for Funds as a Navax brand, we are a third-party ICT provider, and we can help with ICT services that are DORA compliant. So that means you tick certain boxes you require for DORA because we are regulated already. So we gather all the information in a ticket system. If there is an incident, we can deliver all the information you need. We have ticked certain marks when it comes to ICT risk management and can provide you with KPI and KRI reports on a monthly basis where you can check on all your IT assets and stuff. And when it comes to a maybe seamless integration into FundViz, then we can help with getting your information to FundViz so that you can make the deadline, or you can make it to the deadline in terms of the notification to your relevant authority, and have all the information in FundViz to deliver your ICT asset register and all your obligations in time.
Yeah, great point. I mean, especially time is a big component, right? You want to move quickly in the 4-hour deadline. So receiving information from you already, which is pre-filled in the workflow that we can then, or our client can then deliver directly to the CSF via API, is just crucial to save time. And register, I think the same as you said as well, having an overview which is coherent, which has the relevant data, and sending it again or downloading it is just minor steps which are quite major and can make a difference. So
Totally agree. Yeah,
perfect example. Lucas, unfortunately, we're already at the end. It was very nice to have you. I think that won't be the last time. If you're willing to come again to the loft, super happy to have maybe another edition of this. So far, I think we're looking ahead at DORA, we're probably quite confident, especially being on the helping hand side. I think that's also important to mention. I think this is a big strength for us. Also for our ecosystem here, financial industry. And so thanks for coming by.
Yeah, many thanks for having me, Leonard.
Sure.